Stephen, arguably 6 months ago, he could have got a better deal. He could have got a better deal, and without doing the damage to the economy. He's trying to spin this as a win. I'm looking at the comments from Greek Prime Minister Tsipras right now, saying the agreement was tough. They averted a transfer of assets abroad. Well, that was never on the table in February anyway. What's your reaction to this deal and the details of it?
Oh, yeah, he could have got a deal probably 3 weeks ago. In fact, 24 hours before he called the referendum. Arguably, the deal was on the table was better than what he seems to be walking away with now. So I think it's been very challenging. I mean, I think he'll get it through Parliament, but it does raise some longer-term questions in terms of his standing within Greece and how the Greek population will react to it.
Jeff, the consequences of this politically, he goes back to Athens, arguably embarrassed with what he has secured. What's your view, and how long politically this can last in Greece with Tsipras as Prime Minister?
Well, he probably judged that it was a price willing to pay to actually get the banking system reopened. I think it was just domestic practicalities which really forced his hand. I think a lot in terms of his political future will actually depend on what this brings to the Greek people in terms of growth. If we can get a steady reopening of the banking sector, financial stability, and then at least some light at the end of the tunnel, in terms of unemployment, in terms of its overall situation, then maybe he'll be in a better spot. But we've seen what's happened in the space of a week, right? That is probably at least 6 months down the line, so he actually has to survive the next few days first.
Is this over, politically, as far as you're concerned? We know what's going to happen in Greece from now on through to Wednesday and beyond, and we know the ramifications of what could happen to Syriza and their government. What about the other governments around Europe right now? What are your thoughts on that, Stephen?
I think that's actually arguably going to be the biggest story over the next kind of 18 months is, we know that within the Eurozone there are different views as to things like austerity, reform, growth pacts, etc. We started before Greece. If you go back before December last year when Greece became an issue again, that was actually the discussion going on in Europe, this kind of growing tension. It kind of got bedded down by Greece. I think that has been kind of blown open again with these negotiations. So I actually think, and again, remember, we've got big elections coming in 2017. So I think for next year, that's going to be a big topic.
Big election this year, over in Spain at the end of the year. Jeff, you look at the situation in Spain, how strong a message was this to Podemos? And I go back to the op-ed from Yanis Varoufakis over the weekend. My conviction is that the German finance minister wants Greece to be pushed out of the single currency, to put the fear of God into the French and have them accept his model of a disciplinarian Eurozone. Has he put the fear of God into the Spanish electorate as well?
Well, judging by how accommodative, Rajoy's comments have been over the last few days, he probably sensed that things were going in his direction in terms of his party standings, versus those parties on the wings right now, and it will spread all over Europe. But, of course, it could backfire, right? Let's just say, if the terms are seen as too extreme, and if it actually elicits significant amounts of sympathy amongst the European populations, it can actually help as well. So I think the risk right now, aside from the individual currencies, as Stephen just mentioned now, is actually the split, between North and South in terms of how they view this as well. That damage is probably going to take longer to repair.